The third person I wish to introduce is Hilma Peterson Lathrop. Hilma graduated from OU in 1926, and I met her 63 years later in May of 1989, following a talk I had given about UNO history. Hilma came up and introduced herself to me, and said that she had some materials to donate to university archives and a story to tell. We set up an appointment to meet in her home. Before this meeting, I did some research, and I discovered that Hilma, or Min, as she was known to her friends, was a prominent member of 3 mid-1920s OU women's basketball teams, and later served the school as women's basketball coach and an instructor of mathematics. I had a wonderful visit with Min Peterson later that spring, and as we sat in her kitchen, she showed me the variety of photographs and athletic letter sweaters she wished to donate, some of which are on display on the back. The images and clothing, of course, were great, but her story was wonderful. In her soft, clear voice, Min described the excessive amount of clothing early OU women's basketball teams were expected to wear when they competed. Bloomers, such as the ones Min, third from the left in this image, and the team are wearing in 1923, were greatly resented. After all, Min argued, the boys were not required to wear such restrictive uniforms. So, one chilly fall afternoon, the 1924 women's basketball team broke into the men's locker rooms, borrowed the boys' uniforms, and tried them on. Team members, Min, again third from the left here, then went outside and several photographs were taken documenting the crime. As far as Min knew, university administrators never learned about the team's antics. Although I understood that there were perhaps fewer restrictions upon the activities of students during the 1920s than there were earlier times, but I was stunned by the story Min related. I asked her what would have happened had faculty members learned about the break-in. In response, I can still see her. In response, Min smiled, looked across the kitchen table at me, and with a twinkle in her eyes said, "There would have been a real ruckus." Now, it appears that the desire for equality, so boldly expressed in 1924 by Min and her teammates, was gradually rewarded. Remember this 1923 team photo. Well, in this 25 image, Min is sitting in the middle, and the young women are wearing uniforms somewhat less restrictive than bloomers, at least without the dark hosiery and the long-sleeve tops. Well, by 1928, the uniforms of the OU women's basketball team, now coached by Min Peterson at right, had changed dramatically. A change, believe me, Min was still quick to point out 60 years later. I am proud to have met Min Peterson, and will remember my brief visit with her for the rest of my life. She passed away a few weeks after we talked. I will continue to stress, long after the end of the centennial year, how important it is to remember the lives and the contributions of those members of the university community that came before us. Whether faculty administrators like Walter Halsey, boosters like Anna McKee Halsey, or student athletes like Hilma Peterson Lathrop. The contributions of each are why we are able to sit here today. Thank you for your interest in UNO history.